Hi everybody, this is Joe again. Thank you for coming to my channel. Before we get into any model making, I gave you a quick intro, my last video. This video I just want to kind of go over the tools and equipment you might need for model building. This is a heavily engineered, like high-end models, where the engineers kind of figured out how to piece everything together and how you can build it all just by screwing pieces together. This is not your typical old school models where you would cut all the pieces off the tree, glue everything together, prime, paint it, sand it. These are what they kind of call museum quality models, and everything is like screwed together. Whoop. That's just magnetized here. That's that's his hand guard. But if I could get a close-up, you see you got screws there, like all the finger joints are screwed together. So yeah, a lot of engineers got involved with creating these models. You only need very minimum amount of glue in certain spots on these models. So basically all you really need technically is a screwdriver. Okay, and the kits, whenever you start a new model, they give you one of these types of screwdrivers, and these are fine and all. So far with all my model making, I received 4 different screwdrivers that came with the kits, and you can see how they're all different lengths, and let's go over each one. So this is the basic screwdriver. It's Phillips head. It's not too pointy at the top. It fits most screws. Has an example of all the hardware needed for your R2-D2 build. This little hardware kit you eventually get free. They send it to you after so many months. But I personally, for my other kits that didn't come with this, I had to go out and buy my own hardware kits. So you might want to find like a craft store or a hobby store in your area, and this is what I picked up at one of mine. This is for my 1970 Charger, and this one's for my Iron Man. It has a bunch of different cubby holes. As you can see, the screws come in these little Ziploc bags. So like this screw, for example, is a EM screw. And when you read the instructions, it'll tell you like, okay, you need 2 EM screws for this particular part. So I kept the baggie, put it here in one of the slots, and then all the hardware goes in the corresponding. So it starts with like AP all the way to KP, then starts with AM, BM, CM, DM, and so forth. So you can find something like this at like any craft store. So while you're building a model, you need something to keep the dust off, keep them protected. So I just got a container to store all my Iron Man pieces as I'm building. So you can find something like that. And then for my 69 Charger, I have the same hardware kit I bought a second one. I'm just getting going, so that's why there's not that much hardware in there. But I bought a bigger container to hold my parts because this is going to be a vehicle and it's going to be a lot bigger than the Iron Man itself. So hopefully this is enough to store stuff. If I need more space, I'll have to get more space, but we'll see. It's my first time doing the charger or building something in 1/8 scale. And this is my R2-D2. There's a lot more little pieces that come with this. I have something like this, you know, you keep all your little parts and pieces together. Here is Luke Skywalker's lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. And, you know, you got all kinds of other little pieces that's going to be assembled at a later date. And then I have something like this that I'm storing the electronics. As you can see, extra wires that I'm not up to yet. They come later in the build. These computer boards. Most of the stuff I already installed in the dome. So you can see, got a lot installed in the dome. So that cleared out a lot of space, you know. All right. So now let's go over to the actual tools. These are all the cases that you could try and get if you want. Okay. So like I said, really the only tool you need for these type of builds is a Phillips screwdriver that they provide, and then maybe a little bit of craft adhesive. So, but it's like super bare minimum as compared to the old school days of doing modeling, where you need a lot of, you know, cement to put them together. So now, depending on the size of your hand, you might want to invest in different sizes. As you can see, in different types of screwdrivers. See how all of these are different sizes? These work good if you have, as long as you're holding it correctly. Like if you hold it 3-point holding right here, it should do fine. I'm trying to show you like an example here. Let me grab a piece of hardware. So here's your piece of hardware here that you're going to install. Good thing to do is make sure your screwdrivers are magnetized, so that way you could easily pick them up and keep them controlled, and you don't really need a third hand. Let me check the magnetization on this here. All right, so now for me, with my size hands, when you're screwing something in here, you want to like use your palm as a, you know, to steady the screwdriver. And then if it was long enough, you could use your palm, or you may have to find a different spot on your hand to steady it, and then keep it steady and start screwing. Whereas if you had a small one, something like this, you know, I couldn't do that. You know, it's just totally awkward, and it would require like complete finger strength to screw down your nut or bolt. Okay, and then they have this invention where you have a spinning top on your screwdriver. You can see that it just spins, and what that does is, once again, you you anchor the screwdriver into your palm somehow, wherever spot is comfortable for you. All right, and then you could apply steady pressure and then turn at the same time, where you don't have to keep readjusting your hand like I did with this one. I have to keep like turning and keeping it steady. Something like this, it spins, and so it's much more comfortable and it's much more precise. But in my case, you know, I'm an older guy, grown up, and I may have a little bit bigger hands than average. So I personally went out and found something a little longer. So this is what they provide, and you can see it's much shorter than what is comfortable for me. Same concept, the back spins, which you anchor in your hand wherever is comfortable, and then you could turn. I'm not quite sure what they call this here, but it's a neat invention. When you're looking for screwdrivers, search, I guess, jeweler's screwdrivers, and you'll come up with these small tipped screwdrivers that will fit a variety of different screw heads. So I went out and bought this one. It has interchangeable tips with different size Phillips heads, so you can see all the different sizes, from very, very tiny to, I believe this is like a number 1. That's the biggest, and these are super tiny. And you want to find the right screwdriver for the right screw, so that way you don't strip anything out. And if you do strip something out, then you're causing more trouble for yourself. So find the right screw head, find the right screwdriver tip that'll fit your screw. So this, for example, you can see it's much more bigger. If I took this and put it in here, it fits. You can see it fits really good. Maybe there's a little bit of slop. See how that screw head wiggles back and forth? But if you have other options, see how that wiggles back and forth? That means it's not the right size. So you have to find one that fits perfectly. And so that's why it's a good idea to have multiple different kinds. So I put this one here. See, 0 flop at all, or skipping. And then that'll prevent you from stripping out the screw head, and you able to drive the screw all the way down without any issues, without causing stripping or slipping or anything. So that's my tip right there on screwdrivers. Okay, put these away here. All right, and then next up is, so like I said, you only really need a screwdriver. So why am I pointing out other tools you need? Because basically a toolbox doesn't need any excuse. It's another piece of arsenal for your toolbox. You need it because you may need it one day. What I recommend for modeling, you have to use pliers. These are like nippers, diagonal cutters. If you had like a piece of high metal or a piece of plastic that you had to get rid of, from the manufacturing process, maybe a little bit of leftover pieces of plastic laying around, you can use these to cut it off. Or you can use like an X-Acto knife. I only recommend once you feel comfortable using one of these. So if you had a piece of high metal, you know, you just easily scrape it off. Or like I said, use the nippers. If you need something to clamp onto or to hold onto, you know, with a little more strength, you have pliers that'll hold your item that you need steadied. Just be careful if they have teeth. You don't want to press too hard, because then you're going to gouge and mar your surface. And these models, like I said, come already painted and finished. So just be very, very careful. You might want to use something like this where there is no teeth. It just like cylindrical tubes that'll pick it up and then it won't leave a mark. And for me, I have these two. They came in handy once or twice. They're long reach pliers, and just like I said, be careful. They have these teeth here. You don't want to scratch anything. This is something I would use when I was working on airplanes. I was an aircraft mechanic for 35 years. So I have an extensive toolbox, and bringing out a few items to show you that might help out in model making, model building. So if you need something where just your fingers aren't long enough, you have long reach pliers that you could grab onto and hold it, steady it, or move it, you know. An X-Acto knife, it always comes in handy. You might need to, like I said, clean stuff up. There's a wide range of tweezers that you could choose from, all kinds of different tweezers. I recommend not skimping on the quality of your tweezers, because when it's closed, you want it to be like completely closed. Some of these like cheaper ones, you close them, they're still doesn't really grab very well. See how you could, you know, it's just very flimsy and stuff like that. But good quality tweezers will really help you out. Yeah, we kind of came across the need to use them. And let's see what else. And of course, you're getting up in age like I am, you're gonna need glasses or magnifiers so you can see up close. You know, if you don't see what you're doing, then good chance you could make a mistake and cause damage. So I think that's about it, except for I have a micrometer. This measures the screws that I'm using, because some of the builds, like this R2D2, it doesn't tell you which screw is which. It just tells you use the 6mm screw. So sometimes I had to find myself, you know, grabbing a screw and grabbing my micrometer, measuring it, and be like, okay, that's the 6mm. Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whereas the other builds, it'll tell you use for such and such, you know, it's going to be secured with 2 BP screws. Okay, some of the builds don't do that, you know, or let's say, you know, the small nut or the big nut, you know. So this might be useful for you, just to really measure. I got it so I can measure these screws to know which one's which. And then last but not least, and like I said, there's no reason needed to get more tools. It's another piece of arsenal for your box, your toolbox, because you may need it one day. And I bought this kit here. It's a really nice one. It has so many different bit heads, all the different types of bits you can imagine. You know, they got these star bits, they got hex bits, you got Phillip and straight slot, all different sizes. This kit here is geared towards somebody doing repairs on, let's say, like cell phones and tablets. And it comes with an electric driver. See that? I found a couple cases where this is very helpful. If you're using one of these, you're spinning this like 20-30 times. That's great and all. If you want to build your finger strength, which, you know, I've done over the last 35 years working on airplanes. I've done that already. So sometimes in certain situations, having a little bit of power behind what you're doing is helpful. These things magnetically stay in place, but you have to be extremely careful using this, because you could over torque and then strip out the screw you're installing, and then it's just going to spin endlessly and it's never going to tighten up. So I only recommend this after you've had, you know, a lot of practice and a lot of control over what you're doing. But it saves a lot of time, and it's just very useful and helpful. There is no variable speed. If you could find one that has a variable speed, then I would recommend that. This one just seems to be one speed forward, one speed back, and as the battery drains, it gets slower and slower, and then till eventually where it won't screw anything in anymore. Hey! So that's that right there. And I think that about covers the different tools I use for this type of model building. If you got any questions, as always, leave a comment or remark in the comment section, and I'll get back to you. Thank you very much.